For our first lecture in this series of the Hunger Studies distance course, we thought we should start with ethical considerations. Why is this important? Why should we care about hunger? And also we're going to briefly touch on what the Millennium Development Goals are and the role of the UN. Basic facts. This is the story. There are 925 million people chronically hungry, and more than 3 million of them are children around the world today. So figure that is 1/6 of the world's population, 6 billion people. This is the bottom billion. There's plenty of food in the world to feed everyone, and there has been for many, many decades now. Thousands of people die every day from hunger, mainly children, and most people die from hunger, or more people die from hunger than from AIDS, malaria, and TB combined. 70% of the world's hungry are women and children. So 70% of what we call the bottom billion are primarily women and children. They live in extreme poverty. They earn $1 a day on average, and they spend 70% of their income on food. In the US, for example, most of you watching this, you're spending maximum 10%, perhaps, of your income on food. So you can picture for a moment how the bottom billion are basically living from hand to mouth, day to day, women and children trying to scrape by. They tend to be minorities. They tend to be the disenfranchised, the least educated. Access to land is typically not there. That is the picture, the tragedy of hunger that the media shows us, of course, the poor, starving child with the grieving mother. And actually in the world today, it's tragic and terrible as this is, it's a very small percentage, maybe 5 to 8% of the hungry today are ever to this stage, to this situation where they look this bad. Much more typical is, for example, a town just outside Auburn, Beauregard, a small town where over 50% of the high school students receive a school lunch program that is funded and subsidized by the government. This is much more typically the case because the parents simply don't have enough money to feed their children the way that they would want to or should. World hunger. There's a map that the World Food Program puts out on where the hungry are and why. It gives you an idea. The green areas, for example, would be developing countries like Europe, North America. These are countries where they are considered to be food secure in that most segments of their society have access to at least 2,100 calories or more, which is what we consider to be necessary for a healthy life. And then the extreme cases go down to the red areas, Africa, and up to Bangladesh and Mongolia, where they have very high food insecurity, a very high percentage, more than 35% undernourished, meaning they're not receiving the critical food calories, micronutrients and such that they require. So what is hunger? One of the definitions, the key one which I think explains a lot here, is simply for weeks and even months, its victims live significantly on less than 2,100 kilocalories. Kilocalories or calories, we use it interchangeably, but basically we consider that you need 2,100 calories per person per day to lead a healthy life. If you don't have access to that level of calories, you simply will not be able to have the energy in your body, in your system that you require. Your mental activities will slow down. A hungry mind is simply not able to concentrate. We all know this. When you go to school in the morning or you're in classes and you miss breakfast, you all know you're feeling like, I'm not quite ready for this. You're not really paying attention 100%. Your teachers know that. Hunger overall weakens your systems, and deprived of the right for food, deprived of the right food at the right time, the first 1,000 days, which is when children need to have access to the right calories and the micronutrients and vitamins, they simply will not develop to their full capacity mentally and physically for their life. And so typically the thousands that die every day from hunger around the world are not dying in the sense of dead on the street, or that poor child who you saw in the arms of his mother. They are simply very weak, and they have low resistance because of their limited access to good nutrition, and they are dying from the common cold, from measles, malaria, diarrhea, diseases that they otherwise would be recovering from, as all of us would. So every year, almost 11 million children die before they reach the age of 5. And malnutrition is associated with 53%. Over half of those deaths have to do with some aspect of malnutrition, lack of access to calories, lack of access to the proper micronutrients and vitamins at a very critical stage of their life.